he gave us a recipe, and I want to give it to you guys
Yeah.
because I'm going to try this. We're going to try this,
Yeah.
and we probably won't talk our wives into eating it. We're going to try this.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, absolutely.
So it's.
Welcome back to the TBR podcast. This episode is brought to you by New River Trophy Outfitters. If you're looking to catch world-class smallmouth, look no further than New River Trophy Outfitters. Troy Stifler and his guides are knowledgeable, professional, and all-around great people. Go fishing in the New River Gorge National Park while enjoying a relaxing drift in the comfort of a raft. Go to newrivertrophyoutfitters.com or call 304-575-5363 and make sure to tell them that the Banded Retrieve sent you.
I hear you, man. That is, we like old Troy Stifler. Troy Stifler is going to be a hot topic for this podcast today.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, I'm so excited to get into what we experienced on that float. We've got all kinds of things coming. YouTube quality videos have been posted.
I'm so excited.
We've got all kinds of things that have shorts and I mean, it is, if you haven't watched already on YouTube, you need to flip over there and go see that episode. It is awesome.
Oh, yeah, man. We got a lot of good content out of that one, but we'll save that for right now. But we're going to open up with a scripture like we have been here in the past. So Proverbs 27:17, this one's a popular one. As iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. And I think it goes great with just, anything outdoors. Men that can, we've talked about this before, men that can get together and, spend time together, especially good men. And, you lean on each other, you learn from each other, and you have good, solid conversations. You go out with people you look up to, and it's just a powerful thing. Outdoors, just in general, the outdoors, hunting, fishing, all of that is just such a powerful thing.
Absolutely, and I think as you get older and just different eras in your life, I know a lot of people start talking about that. I'm in this era and I'm in that era, and when you experience life in different ways, it's good to talk to somebody who's been there, has gone before you, and has a different perspective of things. I think, I was watching a video today. It was a short, and it was talking about a pastor who he goes to China, and he is teaching to these missionaries in China. It's Underground Chinese Network. They're there. And he said they spent 3 days on a wood floor hiding and listening to him to speak from like 9 to 5.
Gosh.
And it's like, and so he handed them 15 Bibles. There was 18 people there, and ends up one of the ladies, she takes the Bible and she hands it to her friend, and he's like, well, why'd you do that? And ends up, she memorized like all of First Peter. She knew it. She quoted it, and he was like, "How did you do that?" And he was like, "She said I was in the midst of prison, and we started learning the Bible, and so I can quote chapters and whole books of the Bible." Well, it came down to the end of the story, and it ended up, she was like, well, I want you to pray that we could have the freedom that you have in America to share the gospel and to be able to read. And he said, no, lady. He said, I'm praying I'll be like you, because in America, we have an average of 2 Bibles per household and nobody reads it.
Yeah.
And we have all kinds of different things. We're able to come to church, but if people stay more than 40 minutes, they get upset. If it's not air conditioned, they leave. It's like, it puts it in perspective. And I think that's what, when you talk to other people from other places and in hunting different game, that as we come together, and as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. If you can get in a different perspective of life, it sharpens you. It knocks off the rough edges when you begin to see, man, I'm blessed to live in America.
That's
I'm
right.
blessed to live in a free country. And we talk about that all the time, but that is our mission. We are faith, family, and legacy. And so we'd be amiss if we didn't tell other people get them in the right perspective, in the right mind frame. And I think that happens. And so I love that scripture. I think that scripture is very powerful, because when you think of sharpening a knife, you think about a stone, and it literally gets off the rough chinks out of it. It starts to grind down and wear it. And that's what happens. Sometimes when we talk to other people, some of our roughness begins to wear off.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's really good. And I consider myself blessed and fortunate that I have such a great group of men that I'm around. And we've talked about it here, before. And, it's we have really great men that we can look up to here, and we just got through with that reading plan, and it's kept me sharp, and like you said, it just keeps you accountable, and you're reading, and just but specifically with hunting, I've been brought into the hunting scene with such great people,
Yeah.
and you and our relationship has grown through all this, and I really I love it. I love that scripture too. I mean, it always speaks to me every time that I see it. We read it just not too long ago with our Bible reading plan. So just a challenge for everybody out there listening. Dive into the Bible. Get into your Word.
Absolutely.
Sharpen another person, and go out and have some fun, and get out there and hunt. So, speaking of hunting, and speaking of great people,
Yeah.
going back to Troy Stifler, Troy reached out to us, not too long ago, and not too long before season started, and he asked if we wanted to do a cast and blast. So, for all the listeners out there who don't know what a cast and blast is, basically we're floating down the river, and in this particular instance is a little unique because we're in a raft. Again, you might have seen it before on our YouTube channel or on our social media, but you're in the back on this one. I was in the front. And then Troy's in the middle, and he's rowing it with oars. So there's no motor on this thing.
Right.
We're going down with the flow of the river. Directly behind me on this trip was Pastor, the
Right.
dog. So we got to take him with us, and so the main goal here is you catch as many fish as you can,
Absolutely.
kill as many geese as that's legal.
Yeah.
And so we had a good time at that. But I'll let you kind of paint a little bit of a picture of what we experienced that day.
Yeah, absolutely. We got out early in the morning. We wanted to hit the river. It's the New River in the New River Gorge National Park, and so we were actually in a Hinton section where it flows from Hinton into Meadow Creek. And so we wanted to get out there right at daybreak. We actually didn't have too much time. He takes longer trips than what we did. We did a 3 mile float. We had it was an excellent morning. It was a little foggy, but as soon as we get out there, I mean, it's instantly. We don't even have the GoPros necessarily going yet.
Yeah.
We had a boat behind us filming. We had some drone footage and all those things. But as we started, the geese started flying instantly. The fog was coming over the mountains. Beautiful scenery of West Virginia and the Appalachian Mountains. I mean, no greater place to be than that. And before you knew it, we had the rods in the water as those geese circled, and we caught some fish. Those geese flew over. Geese don't necessarily decoy on a cast and blast. It's not the purpose of it. We were just kind of drifting down the river, floating down the river. But there was a ton of birds that day. We probably saw 100, 150 flying in different groups, and so it was an exciting morning to get started.
Yeah, man, that fog was so thick that morning, and it seems like it just carried on over to the next couple weeks. I mean, there's it's ridiculous how much the fog we had, and it would stay there till 11 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
So, but speaking of that trip again, we had a camera crew with us there.
Yeah.
Our buddy Chris Nichols and Logan Price. They were in the other boat, and they were with Jeremiah this time. And Jeremiah was a guide for those boys, and they kind of stayed behind us. We got some really cool drone footage and really cool camera shots, and so you'll see. I'll throw some of those up here too. But you'll see that on we have a video on our YouTube, and it kind of just kind of shows you that hunt and that progression like you were talking about. We get out there in the morning. We saw geese flying overhead. Obviously, nothing can decoy with the way we were doing it. We floated down, caught several fish.
Absolutely.
Hooked up on a muskie or not. I'm sorry, not a muskie, but a walleye.
Yeah.
And we had a good time, and it was. I'm just so thankful for the professionalism that Troy shows.
Absolutely.
And Pastor was all over his bag, dude. Not every time I'd look back, it was like soaked and just hair on it, and I'm like, Troy, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, no, he is super professional. I think he has over 10 boats. They float it every day. I mean, I think he said he's going to do over 250 to 300 trips this year. I mean, it's incredible what he does. It might even be more than that. I know he was telling me there are certain days he is having 10, 12 boats out or whatever. I mean, it's like he's got a big operation there, and it's right in the heart of the New River National Park, the National Gorge Park, which is exciting to be a part of. I know people travel from everywhere trying to come here to see it. It hasn't been to a national park for about, I think, 3 years. And so if you have the opportunity to come and do a float with Troy, it's great. So back into the float. So we're floating down. We've caught some fish. Things were going pretty good. We've seen some geese, and they've flown, but at a little distance. The new river is real wide in some spots, and so you don't get an opportunity. But luckily, I took my binoculars that day,
Yeah.
and so I see some geese in the distance. We were actually going to go to the other side of the river, and I said, "Hey, wait a minute! I think I see some geese." And sure enough, we pulled out the binoculars. We started seeing them, and we started putting a spot and stalk in the raft going down rapids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. I
It
mean,
is.
it
It
makes you
is.
smile thinking
And
about it.
to some people, I guess maybe it's traditional, but this is non-traditional
Oh, yeah.
way of hunting. Really, you're floating it, and you're not having them, calling them and getting them to come over a spread. So no decoys. Like,
Yeah.
dude, it was an easy day for us
Yeah.
because Troy had everything we needed. All we had to do was bring ourselves, bring our guns, and I brought the dog, and we brought a camera crew. And dude, it's just like
Oh,
it was
yeah.
so easy.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I mean, you got your license, you got your fishing license, your hunting license,
No waiters.
no waiters,
You're not bulky
no
up.
decoys.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I brought a call just for fun. We started calling, just messing around, but there's no need for one.
No,
I mean,
no.
but we had a good time, and so we're going down these rapids, and they're not crazy rapids, but
No.
it's good current, and you feel completely safe on that boat too.
Mm-hmm.
That boat is not going to flip. I mean, it's totally secure. You
Well,
feel good.
Let's stop there about that boat. I mean, so that raft, so it's just basically what you would think of like for whitewater rafting.
Yeah.
And then there's a frame on top
Absolutely.
of it that he straps down, and Ratchet straps that frame to the boat.
Right.
And then that is your chairs. Like,
Yeah.
that's his chair, and then our chair's in the back, and our chairs kind of come up, and it sets you on top.
Yeah.
And, like you said, we went through a couple of places that weren't necessarily rough, but I mean, he told me, hang on here
Yeah.
for a second. But, dude, you just prop your feet up on the side of the
Oh,
raft,
yeah.
and it's like, there's nothing.
Oh yeah, he's got a cooler back there. We were having waters, and I mean, he's like, "Hand me a water." I mean, it's simple. It's the life. I mean, really, if you again, and this is he has an incredible operation. It's great, and I've seen him take up to 70 and 80-year-old people out. I mean, like it's like you're like, "Hey, I couldn't do that." There's no. I'm telling you, it's for the youngest to the oldest. I think he can manage all that.
Yeah.
It seems
Women, children, he's had them all.
Oh yeah, and first timers and professionals,
Yeah.
like us. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
And so we're floating down the water. It was beautiful. It's actually probably about 9:30, maybe 10. I mean, or close to that probably. And I spot those geese. All right, so we start making our we start going in, and the way we were coming at them, he was trying to position the boat to kind of push them back into a kind of like
Little
a little eddy, yeah, and it worked perfectly. So as we were pushing, they start pushing, they squawk, but they didn't fly. So they push into this eddy, and we keep on pushing by, and they get uncomfortable. And when they get uncomfortable,
They start honking.
They start.
You know it. If you've done it before, you know how it is.
Oh yeah, so they're honking, they're squawking, and they make the beeline back to us. They come perfectly. We got drone footage of this. You got to go see it. I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. And literally, they come straight in front of us. We put a great shots on them. We end up in the end. We've knocked down 5 out of 6. I think is what it was.
Yeah, it was 5 out of 6.
And we ended up with a 1-man limit right there. It was. I mean,
well, I think we knocked down the 3, and then the 2 came back.
yeah.
And then we shot at those, and then those sailed.
Yeah,
so
they
those
sailed.
sailed. We ended up in that moment. We actually ended up losing those, just the sight of them, for a little bit. So we knew where the 3 were. They were
They're
dead. And so he, I don't know that Troy had necessarily seen. I mean, I know he's had dogs on there
Yeah.
before. I don't know that he had seen the way that we worked.
Yeah.
And so Pastor was chomping at the bit. It was first shots of the season for him. And dude, he launched off that raft, and so we were just past some of the rapids, and
Yeah.
it was just past there. So he jumps off there, grabs the first one, and they were all within, I don't know, 30 yards of each
Yeah,
other.
absolutely.
So I was like, well, I'm not even going to pull him back in.
Yeah.
So he grabs one, gives it to me, grabs the second one, brings it back, and I'm like, well, heck, man, just keep
Oh
going.
yeah.
Goes and grabs the third, and I was it was a proud moment for me, and we got all that on drone. So I pull him back up in the raft, and so we're kind of we're celebrating it, but we knew we had two that
Two.
sailed,
Absolutely.
and we were gonna go look for those. So we started looking out for those, and we found them. I saw one flapping on a rock, and knew he was kind of hurting. And so I said, Troy, they're right over here. So he kind of put me on them, and so I put a bead on him. And I know in the video, and we're probably going to get comments about
Yeah.
this, that it looks like we've water swat this bird, but this bird cannot fly at this
No, it
point.
was it was injured on the bank.
Yeah.
It had sailed. We had already put BBs in it. It
Yeah.
was the humane thing to
Yeah.
do was to find it. I mean, that's when you look at the license and what it says. It says that you will go and try to get those birds even if they sail. I mean, that's part of hunting is tracking the game, and so we tracked the game. And yeah, you put the kill shot on the one, and the other one started flying
Out of the woods, come out of the woods.
yeah, and it picks up, and you put a shot and rolled it, and I think I yelled "woo" or
Yeah,
Ric
yeah.
Flair or whatever. It
Yeah.
was an awesome moment.
Dude, and Logan was back there on the drone, and dude,
Yeah.
he got every bit of the retrieve. He got the shot. I mean, in midair, it's like, dude, again, you got to go watch it, and
Oh,
we'll link it. We'll link it right here.
Absolutely. But it was a great trip. We ended up we come on down and we start processing them. We start breasting them out
Right there on the riverside.
right on the river, dip them in the new river and
Yeah.
and get them cleaned off. And yeah, I mean it's a I mean we had 10 breasts there. It looked great. The breasts weren't injured.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean so
Well, I mean, a little bit of clarity on that one too. We put out a short the other day of us breasting those out, and I'll be honest. I mean, dude, it stinks having to pluck those
Oh, yeah.
feathers. So there was a couple feathers left on the breast. Just know we cleaned them off in the river there. We got them all. We got all those feathers out. We had
absolutely.
a couple comments on there, which is a little aggravating, but people just always have to have something to say.
Oh
don't
yeah,
they?
yeah. I mean, and any comments still helps us.
So, yeah, bad press is good press, right?
So, but that's yeah. So we breasted them out. We've got those, put them in the freezer, and that's where they're at in the moment.
Yeah, and really excited about this. So after that short went live, we had a listener actually message us, and his name's Jim Canatelli. Hopefully I pronounced that right.
Right.
But he gave us a recipe, and I want to give it to you guys
Yeah.
because I'm going to try this. We're going to try this,
Yeah.
and we probably won't talk our wives into eating it. We're going to try this.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, absolutely.
So it's 4 to 6 breasts cubed, 4 to 6 potatoes cubed, and then it's a pear peeled, cored, and cubed,
Yep.
which is kind of odd. I've just not thought of putting a fruit in there.
I
guess.
think it's even Troy. His has that acid like in pineapple and all that. Just gives it a different flavor. So I mean, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, so a pear peeled, cored, and cubed, 1 large onion chopped, a handful of carrots, 2 stalks of celery, 4 to 6 mushrooms sliced. I'm not a mushroom guy. I'll probably leave that out. But
Well, you can double it for me. No,
oh,
I'm just
okay.
kidding.
Oh
I'm
my
just
gosh!
kidding.
Now my meat's gonna taste like mushrooms. I
I'm
hate
just kidding.
mushrooms.
Yeah, that's funny.
No, and then 2 to 3 cloves of garlic minced, 2 to 4 jalapenos chopped. He put on there that's optional, not for us.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna
No,
spice that
absolutely.
thing up. And then 2 16-ounce cans of cream of chicken soup, and put that in a slow cooker. Put all your ingredients in, and then the breast goes on top, and then the soup goes on top of
Okay.
that. And then it's 8 to 10 hours on low, and then stir occasionally, dude. And I mean, we've talked about Goose recipes before, and I've always done mine in a slow cooker. Never done it in like a stew kind of
Yeah.
like that. I've always done it like barbecue. But dude, I'm gonna try that.
I think it sounds great. I know I've had a lot of deer soup that's similar to that. So a duck breast or goose breast in general, it's got a lot of striations and things in it. So you cook it for a long time, which makes it more tender, kind of more like a beef roast. If you've never had goose, that's kind of what people do is cook it for a long time. It can tend to be tough, so that's why you want it to break down under the heat. And so low and slow, and just keep on and make sure it gets cooked.
It'll
8
be
to 10
tasty.
I think
Winter's
it's gonna-
coming. We'll need a stew. It's it'll be good on a cold day, and always good to eat something killed.
And I'm thankful for Jim. Jim, I know you say you're listening, you'll be listening to this
Yeah.
one. So thankful for our viewers who we say this all the time, but if you have a comment on our YouTube or on our Instagram or on our Facebook or on the X or whatever platform you are, send a comment. We read those. Me and you both media manage that, and
Yeah.
so it's us. It's really us. So
Yeah.
be sure and send that, and we love communicating and talking with you
Oh, I mean,
guys.
we give it all. I mean, our website, thebannerretrieve.com, has our email, my personal phone number on there.
Absolutely.
Give us a call, and we love to talk to you. But like I said, Jim, I hope more people reach out to us. And
Absolutely.
I'm really wanting some questions on here so we
Yeah.
can start fielding some questions for folks. And but that's all good stuff. But we're coming to the end of our podcast here. As always, we appreciate everybody tuning in here. But just wanted to say here that we're also this podcast is also brought to you by NC Asphalt Pros. NC Asphalt Pros is in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. So for all your asphalt needs, go to NC Asphalt Pros or call 276-494-1406.